Hello, my name is Pastor Kathy Kollar. I'm the pastor of Pleasant Valley Lutheran Church near Malabar Farm and St. Paul Lutheran Church in Lucas, Ohio. Greetings. We are reading through the Bible with commentary. We are in the fifth book of the Bible, the fifth book of the Torah, the book of Deuteronomy, up to chapter 23. And we are reading through the law that Moses gave to the people as they are preparing to go into the promised land. All kinds of miscellaneous rules, laws, statutes, ordinances, and basically how they are to live as a people and different than the people around them by keeping all these laws. And of course, it starts with the 10 Commandments, or the 10 words, which are obviously the big ones. And the biggest one of all, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. But then we start to get into these nitty-gritty kind of rules. And one of the questions to ask is like, okay, how permanent are these laws and how thorough are these laws? Because at the very beginning, in verse 3, we're going to hear a law that is said, but then in a few books from now, it's going to be totally not kept. And so how does that work? So the law is set out, this is what the standard is. But of course, there's always exceptions to most laws, not all. I mean, you're still to love the Lord your God. That is not, there's no exceptions to that. But there are exceptions, and there are things that change and grow and develop over time as people's understanding of themselves has changed. So chapter 23, no one whose testicles are crushed or whose penis is cut off shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. Those born of an illicit union shall not be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation, none of their descendants shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. So that's basically forever. Verse 3, no Ammonite or Moabite shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation, none of their descendants shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord, because they did not meet you with food and water on your journey out of Egypt, and because they hired against you Balaam son of Beor from Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse you. Yet the Lord your God refused to heed Balaam. The Lord your God turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loved you. You shall never promote their welfare or their prosperity as long as you live. So Balaam came, and Balaam said, I can only do what the Lord tells me to do. And so then he did not curse the people, he blessed them. But the bigger thing is, no Ammonite, no Moabite shall be admitted even to many generations. And yet we are going to read the book of Ruth, and Ruth is a Moabitess, a woman from Moab. And the Moabites were basically cousins to the Israelites. Abraham's nephew Lot was the father of Moab and Ammon, and they became kind of near cousins to the Israelites. So which is it? Is the law we never ever do this, or are there exceptions to the law? And there are cases where Ruth says, your people will be my people, your God will be my God. So she, even though she is from Moab, she becomes an Israelite, and she becomes an ancestor of King David. Verse 7, you shall not abhor any of the Edomites, for they are your kin. You shall not abhor any of the Egyptians, because you were an alien residing in their land. The children of the 3rd generation that are born to them may be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. Verse 9, when you are encamped against your enemies, you shall guard against any impropriety. If one of you becomes unclean because of a nocturnal emission, then he shall go outside the camp. He must not come within the camp. When evening comes, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun has set, he may come back into the camp. Verse 12, you shall have a designated area outside the camp to which you shall go. With your utensils you shall have a trowel. When you relieve yourself outside, you shall have a trowel. You shall dig a hole with it, and then cover up your excrement, because the Lord your God travels along with your camp to save you and to hand over your enemies to you. Therefore your camp must be holy, so that he may not see anything indecent among you, and turn away from you. So as a group of people traveling, you're going to do your business outside the camp and do it in a hole and cover it up afterwards. Be clean and tidy. Verse 15, slaves who have escaped to you from their owners shall not be given back to them. They shall reside with you in your midst. In any place they choose, in any one of your towns, wherever they please, you shall not oppress them. Verse 17, none of the daughters of Israel shall be temple prostitute. None of the sons of Israel shall be a temple prostitute. You shall not bring the fee of a prostitute or the wages of a male prostitute into the house of the Lord your God in payment for any vow, for both of these are abhorrent to the Lord your God. Verse 19, you shall not charge interest on loans to another Israelite, interest on money, interest on provisions, interest on anything that is lent. On loans to a foreigner you may charge interest, but on loans to another Israelite you may not charge interest, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all your undertakings in the land that you are about to enter and possess. Which, of course, by the Middle Ages, Christians were like, oh, we can't be a borrower or a lender, we have to be good. But the Israelites, the Jewish people, could to other people that are not themselves. So this is where, unfortunately, during the Middle Ages, the Jewish people got a reputation as loan sharks, which may or may not have been fair for them to have received that reputation. Verse 21, if you make a vow to the Lord your God, do not postpone fulfilling it, for the Lord your God will surely require it of you, and you would incur guilt. But if you refrain from vowing, you will not incur guilt. Whatever your lips utter, you must diligently perform, just as you have freely vowed to the Lord your God with your own mouth. Verse 24, if you go into your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat your fill of grapes, as many as you wish, but you shall not put any in a container. So you can go eat, but you can't pick and take it with you. Verse 25, if you go into your neighbor's standing grain, you may pluck the ears with your hand, but you shall not put a sickle to your neighbor's standing grain. Again, you can go into the field and eat some of the grain, but you can't pick it and pluck it and sickle, which is what, of course, Jesus and his disciples are traveling, and they're hungry, and they're eating some of the grain from a field as they travel through it, because of that law. Chapter 24. Suppose a man enters into marriage with a woman, and she does not please him because he finds something objectionable about her. And so he writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house. She then leaves his house and goes off to become another man's wife. Then suppose the second man dislikes her, writes her a bill of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house. Or the second man who marries her dies. Her first husband, who sent her away, is not permitted to take her again to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that would be abhorrent to the Lord, and you shall not bring guilt on the land that the Lord your God is giving you as a possession. So once you've divorced it, gone on to a second husband, you cannot go back to the first. Verse 5, when a man is newly married, he shall not go out with the army or be charged with any related duty. He shall be free at home 1 year to be happy with the wife whom he has married. No one shall take a mill or an upper millstone in pledge, for that would be taking a life in pledge, because if you don't have the millstone, you can't use the mill, so you can't take that as a pledge. Verse 7, if someone is caught kidnapping another Israelite, enslaving or selling the Israelite, then that kidnapper shall die. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Verse 8, guard against an outbreak of leprous skin disease. And leprous, that word that they are translating leprous, they're not actually sure what that Hebrew word means. So it could mean contagious, it could mean gross, we don't know. So they've translated as leprous, but it isn't necessarily leprosy. It could be any kind of skin problem, impetigo, scabies, poison ivy. Guard against an outbreak of leprous skin disease by being very careful. You shall carefully observe whatever the Levitical priests instruct you, just as I have commanded them. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam on your journey out of Egypt, when she was turned white. Verse 10, when you make your neighbor a loan of any kind, you shall not go into the house to take the pledge. You shall wait outside while the person to whom you are making the loan brings the pledge out to you. If the person is poor, you shall not sleep in the garment given you as a pledge. You shall give the pledge back by sunset, so that your neighbor may sleep in the cloak and bless you, and it will be to your credit before the Lord your God. So you can't take the only thing they have to sleep in. Verse 14, you shall not withhold the wages of poor and needy laborers, whether other Israelites or aliens who reside in your land in one of your towns. You shall pay them their wages daily before sunset, because they are poor and their livelihood depends on them. Otherwise they might cry to the Lord against you, and you would incur guilt. Parents shall not be put to death for their children, nor shall children be put to death for their parents. Only for their own crimes may persons be put to death. Verse 17, you shall not deprive a resident alien or an orphan of justice. You shall not take a widow's garment in pledge. Remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. Therefore I command you to do this. So you have to be kind to orphans, you have to be kind to widows, and you each incur guilt for your own crimes. Verse 19, when you reap your harvest in your field and forget a sheaf in the field, you shall not go back to get it. It shall be left for the alien, the orphan, and the widow, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all your undertakings. When you beat your olive trees, do not strip what is left. It shall be for the alien, the orphan, and the widow. When you gather the grapes in your vineyard, do not glean what is left. It shall be for the alien, the orphan, and the widow. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore I am commanding you to do this. Over and over and over and over, there are so many commandments to look out for the people who are poor, the widows, the orphans, the resident alien strangers, that we would look out for those people and take measures, not strip your field bare, but leave things behind for them to collect. Verse 25, suppose two persons, I just said verse again, chapter 25. Suppose two persons have a dispute and enter into litigation, and the judges decide between them, declaring one to be in the right and the other to be in the wrong. If the one in the wrong deserves to be flogged, the judge shall make that person lie down and be beaten in his presence with the number of lashes proportionate to the offense. 40 lashes may be given, but not more. If more lashes than these are given, your neighbor will be degraded in your sight. So somehow more than 40 lashes is a shameful, degrading thing. So you don't do more than 40. And oftentimes the Jewish people would do 40 minus 1 and do 39 lashes, including to Paul. Paul had that happen a couple times. Verse 4, you shall not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain. 5. When brothers reside together and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the deceased shall not be married outside the family to a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go into her, that means have sex, taking her in marriage and performing the duty of a husband's brother to her, and the firstborn whom she bears shall succeed to the name of the deceased brother, so that his name may not be blotted out of Israel. But if the man has no desire to marry his brother's widow, then his brother's widow shall go up to the elders at the gate and say, my husband's brother refuses to perpetuate his brother's name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of a husband's brother to me. The elders of his town shall summon him and speak to him. If he persists, saying, I have no desire to marry her, then the brother's wife shall go up to him in the presence of the elders, pull his sandal off his foot, spit in his face, and declare, this is what is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. Throughout Israel his family shall be known as the house of him whose sandal was pulled off. Which of course is hard for us to hear in modern times. But if you're a woman, where is your Social Security? It is in your son that continues the family name, but also is the one who takes care of you and looks out for you as you get old. Your son is the one responsible for you. So a woman, where is her value? It's unfortunately the man is attached to her. So if her husband dies, she needs a son, and her brother-in-law is the one that is supposed to provide that son for her. Verse 11, if men get into a fight with one another, and the wife of one intervenes to rescue her husband from the grip of his opponent by reaching out and seizing his genitals, you shall cut off her hand, show no pity. Verse 13, you shall not have in your bag two kinds of weights, large and small. You shall not have in your house two kinds of measures, large and small. You shall have only one full and honest weight. You shall have only one full and honest measure, so that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. For all who do such things, who act dishonestly, are abhorrent to the Lord your God. So no cheating, no false weights and measures. Verse 17, remember what Amalek did to you on your journey out of Egypt, how he attacked you on the way when you were faint and weary, and struck down all who lagged behind you. He did not fear God. Therefore, when the Lord your God has given you rest from all your enemies on every hand, in the land that the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess, you shall blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Do not forget. So, lots of rules, lots of laws, lots of statutes, and lots of this is how you are to live. And of course, number one thing is to love the Lord your God and to love your neighbor and to look out for people on the edges of society, widows, orphans, and children. Do not pluck all of your grain, all of your olives, leave things behind for people to come and glean. And fairness and justness and rightness and being righteous and being fair to people, not accepting bribes. And they're saying we are going to live differently than the people around us, and this is how we're going to choose to live. We're not going to give any space to Ammonites or Moabites, except then, of course, Ruth the Moabitess comes along and she gets accepted. So are there exceptions to rules? Yes, of course there are. But at the same time, Ruth became an Israelite. She said, your people are my people, your God is my God. And she embraced the new culture that she was a part of. So you don't just have exceptions for exception's sake. It's just a very different culture. But they, as a culture, as a people, were trying to live differently than the people around them and live in a way that was righteous and just and fair. So now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look at you with favor and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Go in peace. Serve the Lord. Thanks so much for being here with us. Like, subscribe, comment, come back again tomorrow.